Hi guys, my name's Barry and welcome back to the channel. I'm going to be talking about Totally Killer today. Now there's going to be spoilers in this review. There might not be major spoilers, but there's going to be spoilers in this anyway guys. So if you haven't seen the movie, maybe don't watch this review until you've seen the movie. But if you don't mind spoilers or you've seen the movie, then continue watching. Totally Killer is one of these films where I didn't even know the movie was coming out until I saw the trailer for it just a couple of weeks ago. And when I seen the trailer, I was completely intrigued straight away because my favourite movie of all time is Back to the Future. And in fact, when I think about my favourite movies of all time, a lot of them feature films where people go back into the past, sort of like a time travel movie. I love Back to the Future, I love The Butterfly Effect, I love Terminator 2 Judgment Day. So these types of films, without realising it, I absolutely love. So when I saw the trailer for Totally Killer, it kind of reminded me of movies like Back to the Future, of course, and also Happy Death Day to You, which is another film I absolutely love. So I was completely sold straight away as soon as I saw the trailer. Now, before watching the film, I knew that the time travel aspect of it was probably going to be the weakest part of the movie. And after I seen it, I thought, do you know what? The time travel part wasn't too bad, but it certainly was the weakest part of the film. It's almost like it didn't belong in the movie. When you look at Happy Death Day to You, it felt like that belonged in the film. But when I was watching Totally Killer, and this is my only negative for the movie, is the time travel aspect of the film felt forced, almost like this is the gimmick that we're giving you around a really solid slasher flick. Now, if it didn't even have a time travel part of the movie, I think I would have been sold anyway on it, but the gimmick did sell it to me. So even though I thought the gimmick was the weakest part of the movie, if I didn't see that gimmick in the trailer and they didn't use the gimmick, maybe I wouldn't have watched the movie. So I think it worked overall, but it was just the weakest part of the film. If you removed that gimmick from the movie, it felt to me like it could have been a sequel to Halloween. It almost felt like it had the same premise to Halloween from 2018. You've got this mother who is a survivor after 35 years. In Laurie Strode's case, it's 40 years, but she's survived after 35 years. And she's got a daughter now and she fears for her life as well as her own life, and she's scared that the killer may still return because the killer was never caught 35 years ago. So it's got the exact same premise as Halloween, only it includes time travel in the movie. Even the look of the film at times did feel like Halloween when you see the daughter walking around the streets, the way it pans around, you see someone in the background, etc. It felt very Halloween-y. They even reference Michael Myers in this movie as well. So they've obviously taken some inspiration, not only from the original Halloween, but from the 2018 Halloween. Of course, its biggest inspiration is Back to the Future, which isn't even a horror movie. And you do have those Marty McFly and Doc moments where Jamie, the main character, has to go back to high school and she has to find the person that's going to create this new time travel device for her in order for her to get back to 2023. So it's got all those gimmicks there, all those references to Back to the Future there, which I actually really enjoyed. One of the standout things for me in this film was the killer and the look of the killer as well. It's so unique, yet something that you would have seen before time and time again. I just love the mask. It reminds me of Max Headroom from 1987, I think that was, 1985 it began. So it reminds me of Max Headroom, but it's also a simple design. I just love the plain clothes look with the mask on there. It just looks like it's something from the 1980s, and even to the earring that he's got in the ear, it's just so great. And the killer in this movie, even though it feels like a tame film, is quite brutal. In this film, he's called the Sweet 16 Killer. That could be because he's killing 16-year-olds, but it also could mean that he stabs his victims 16 times, and that's what the killer has to do in this movie. There is a point where the killer doesn't stab someone 16 times to begin with. He slits this person's throat and they die, but he goes back to them even though this person's dead. He then stabs this victim 16 times as well. So he's called the Sweet 16 Killer for a reason. One thing that did annoy me, and it didn't annoy me to the point where I would hate the movie for it, but I'm a sucker for years in movies. When you look at films like the I Spit on Your Grave, Deja Vu, they get the years mixed up. The Texas Chainsaw 3D from 2013, where you've got Alexandra Daddario, who's supposed to be a 40-year-old woman. It just makes no sense. They get their years mixed up. And this one is a very simple one where it says Halloween night 2023, and then they talk about 35 years ago. So that would have been 1988. But they keep referencing 1987 and it's set in 1987. To me, a quick calculation, that's 36 years. So little small things like that really annoy me. I don't know why, but surely they can calculate 35 years ago. Why didn't they just set it in 1988? I'm assuming that they began filming this movie in the hope that they were going to bring it out in 2022, but there was a few things that could have just changed in order for us to make that fit. Just say it's 36 years instead of 35 years. Another great thing about this film was the acting. I think the acting was fantastic, especially from the main star, Jamie. I genuinely thought that was the girl from Annabelle Comes Home, McKenna Grace, I think it is. However, it's the girl who plays Sabrina in the Sabrina TV show, who also has McKenna Grace in it as well. She plays a younger version of Sabrina. So I can see why I got mixed up with those two actresses, but I genuinely thought that was her right up until I finished watching the movie. Something I liked about the film as well is when she goes back to 1987, she acts like she's still in 2023, so she thinks she's very politically correct. Nobody cares about anything back in the 80s. Nobody was offended by anything back in the 80s. Some of that was a little on the nose, but I think some of it was quite funny as well. I actually laughed out loud sometimes in this film. I don't genuinely laugh out loud in any film these days. Even in comedies, I don't laugh out loud too much. But there were some scenes in this, I actually laughed out loud and I couldn't help myself. So the dialogue in this film was pretty tight because I think some people from the 80s and 90s like myself will laugh at it because that's things that we remember. Like, she gets dropped off by a stranger in a car filled with smoke. She's smoking in front of her kids inside her car and the windows are pulled up to the max. That happened to me when I was a kid, so I laughed at that, and I'm glad that they added things like that in because there's things in it that I would understand, but also she's a young actress and she's supposed to be playing a 16-year-old. So 16-year-olds these days who are actually really offended by a lot of things, they'll watch this and they'll be like, that's offensive and that's offensive, and I'm glad they're calling that out. So it's got something for everyone. It's got something for the young offended people, no offence, and it's got some things for the older generation like myself that aren't really offended by things. So the dialogue was very slick and it catered for everyone. The film does play out like a whodunit movie, and they even reference that in the film. They talk about Scream from 1996. So it is a whodunit movie, and I genuinely thought there was a certain amount of people in this film that I thought, that could be the killer or that could be the killer. But I never thought the killer was the person that it was. And I was pleasantly surprised because I couldn't really think of who it would have been. I had my ideas and my suspicions. But when the killer was revealed at the end, I thought, that was quite smart. But when something happened in the film where one of the killers comes from 2023 back into 1987, so essentially they are a second killer, and you would automatically assume that that person would be the older version of the killer from 1987. However, if memory serves me right, because they ended up killing the original killer in 1987, he wouldn't exist in 2023. Therefore, whoever comes back wouldn't be the same person. I'm trying to not give too much away, but yeah, that was a little bit confusing to begin with. But when I thought about it, I thought, that makes sense. But why they came back to be the killer, that was a little tame, and I thought maybe they shouldn't have done that, but I can understand that they wanted to give us just another little twist before the movie ended. Overall, guys, I was absolutely blown away by this film, and I don't know if it's because of my nostalgia for those types of films with the time travel, but mix that in with horror, then I'm completely sold, because I love Back to the Future, I love horror movies. Mix that blend together and you've got a recipe for success. So for me, I was automatically going to like this movie no matter what. But after I watched the movie, I was even more surprised as to how much I really liked it. One of the best horror films of the year for definite, guys. So if you haven't seen it already, definitely check it out. It's free on Amazon Prime. When I say it's free, you obviously have to pay for Amazon Prime. But a lot of people have got Amazon Prime. But check it out on Amazon Prime, guys. I highly recommend it. I don't think you'll be disappointed. It's got something for everyone in it. So yeah, definitely check it out, guys. It's worth the watch. So if you've seen this movie, guys, leave your comments down below. Let me know what you thought of it. Do you think it was great? Do you think it was like Happy Death Day to you, that sort of thing? And do you like time travel movies with horror elements in it? Leave your comments down below. Let me know what you think, and I'll talk to you soon.
Meeting adjourned.
I'll be right back.
What are you waiting for, huh?
Coming to get you, Barbara.
Ever played in the cat?
Someone's in the back seat! Tell me where you are, John!
Wolfman's got a knife.